Hello and welcome to this episode on public relations and advertising. I am Gauri Divakar and have been a PR and advertising professional for many years. Today, we will discuss about differences between public relations and advertising, principles of advertising, various types of advertising. To begin with, let us first understand the meaning of public relations and advertising. You may have all come across the term public relations. It is commonly referred to as PR. The word public refers to a group of similar individuals, an assortment of persons having the same interests, problems, circumstances and goals, and it is from such persons that opinion emerges. Human beings create the need to establish relations with one another. These relationships may be active or passive, good or bad, or even neutral. In any case, the relationship may be accepted, ignored, or altered as desired. We can now say that public relations involves a two-way communication process between an organization and its public, communication with a view to changing the mindsets of the public in a certain direction. We can therefore define public relations as a form of communication used to persuade or influence people using ethical means. Therefore, the most important aspect of public relations is to focus on the public, or in other words, the people who will receive the communication. Public relations is an activity carried on before advertising to make the public understand what the product actually is and instilling confidence in the public about the product. Advertising is an activity which generally comes after public relations. Advertising can fail if the product, service or organization is not understood, and so public relations plays a very important role in any marketing operation. Public relations creates a correct image of the product and the producer. But what is advertising? Let us try and understand this. Advertising is a public announcement to inform and persuade people to buy a product, a service or an idea. It is, however, a controlled means of communication. In successful public relations, a product or service which is new or unique is readily accepted by the media, which publishes and or airs the desired message. However, the advantage of advertising is that it is a message controlled and focused by the advertiser and not the media outlet. The Encyclopedia Britannica defines advertisement as a form of paid announcement intended to promote the sale of commodities or services, to advance an idea or to bring about some other effect desired by the advertiser. An advertisement would include any notice, circular, label, wrapper or any other document or any announcement made orally or by means of producing or transmitting light, sound or smoke. Every day we see and hear hundreds of advertisements. Let us consider a few examples. Posters informing us about the latest films to be released. Big hoardings telling us which toothpaste would give us the cleanest and strongest teeth. The RJ or radio jockey asking us to buy things from the big shop in the center of the city for the most fashionable clothes. The huge wall carrying the name and address of the local beauty parlor, which will make even the most ordinary lady look as glamorous as a film star. Wouldn't you like to know more about this fascinating process? How did advertising originate? Can you imagine two people with drums walking down the streets of Mohenjo-daro, the city of the Indus Valley civilization, shouting their own and others' messages? People would stop and listen just as you do when you stop to read an advertisement on the road or watch an advertisement on television. In the Indian subcontinent, during Emperor Ashoka's reign, stones or pillars were used for making public announcements. There have always been advertisements of some sort or the other. The form of advertising for the transmission of information dates back to ancient Greece and Rome, when town criers, drummers, and signs were used to carry information for advertising goods and services. Excavations in the ancient Roman town of Pompeii have shown evidence of some form of advertising. However, you must know that modern advertising was made possible due to the success of the printing industry. Handbills, posters, pamphlets, and leaflets were printed in large numbers and distributed throughout the city and also put up on walls in public places. Advertising soon became a powerful tool to market the products produced in the factories, from safety pins to sewing machines. Newspapers began selling space to advertisements. Soon, there was more advertisement than news. The field of advertising was revolutionized with the advent of radio and television as a popular media of communication in this century. While the press would cover only the literate population, radio and television widely covered both literates and non-literates. Television and radio remain the most popular media in urban as well as rural areas. During the 1990s, the arrival of satellite television and internet has resulted in significant changes in the field. Now let us understand the basic differences between public relations and advertising. Let us consider an example to understand this better. If a huge tree, several decades old, were to fall in the middle of a forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a noise? However, it does if something is written or spoken about this on the day it falls and this information is disseminated. The best job of integrating advertising and public relations is done by the major film companies. Their ad campaigns are always accompanied by well-coordinated PR efforts with appearances by the stars and director on national and regional programs. Promotions involving other companies and background stories are published by the print media. Now let us understand the social and economic effects of advertising. The history of advertising in India parallels the history of the Indian press. The inaugural issue of the first newspaper of the Indian subcontinent was the Bengal Gazette or the Calcutta General Advertiser, started by James Augustus Hickey on January 29, 1780. Did you know that it carried a few advertisements? During the early years, the newspapers announced births, deaths, appointments, arrival and departure of ships, and sale of furniture. By the beginning of the 19th century, the pattern of advertising revealed a definite change. Even the daily newspapers announced themselves through advertisements in existing periodicals. The power of advertising increased rapidly with the growth in trade and commerce. Which newspaper do you read? Does it have many advertisements? By 1830, around 36 newspapers and periodicals were being published on a regular basis from India. With the rise of new industries, advertising, even from British companies, increased. The growth of advertising in India is also linked to the Swadeshi movement between 1920 and 1922, which gave impetus to Indian industries. Do you remember any names of freedom fighters associated with the Swadeshi movement? Mahatma Gandhi described Swadeshi as a call to the consumer to be aware of the violence he is causing by supporting those industries that result in poverty, harm to workers and to humans and other creatures. The Swadeshi movement was an attempt to seize the economic power of the British by encouraging the use of domestic made products. Spinning the charkha and wearing khadi became a very powerful tool to fight the British government. Let us now find out how modern Indian advertising developed. Do you know when the Indian advertising agencies started operating? The first Indian ad agency, the Indian Advertising Agency, was launched in the very early years of the 20th century. On the other hand, B. Dattaram and Company, located in Girgaon in Mumbai and launched in 1905, also claims to be the oldest existing Indian agency. This was followed by the launch of the Calcutta Advertising Agency in 1909. By the 1920s, a number of Indian agencies were working in major Indian cities. The most important of them were the Modern Publicity Company in Madras, Central Publicity Service in Bombay and Calcutta, and the Oriental Advertising Agency in Tiruchirappalli. In 1931, the first full-fledged Indian ad agency, the National Advertising Service, was established. During the post-independence era, the advertising business was well on its way to growth and expansion. The Indian Society of Advertisers was formed in 1951, and in May 1958, the Society of Advertising Practitioners was established, and advertising clubs came up in Bombay and Calcutta to promote higher standards of work. Market research and readership surveys led to further professionalization of the advertising industry. Television rating points, popularly known as TRP measurements, provided ad agencies with statistical data on consumer likes and dislikes and helped them create effective media plans and ad campaigns. The introduction of multicolor printing, improved printing machines, and the development of commercial art gave the ad business a further boost. The advertising agencies expanded their services, and this was due to the phenomenal growth in media. Besides selling space in newspapers and magazines, they began to offer artworks, organization of fairs and exhibitions, and market research. Let us discuss about the different forms of advertisements found in the various forms of media. This is one of the most popular forms of advertising. Print ads can take many forms: newspapers and magazine ads, bills, wall posters, banners, calendars. As you might be aware, the rise of print advertising is linked to the rise of the newspaper industry. The installation and success of the first linotype printing machine by the statesman in Calcutta in 1907 proved to be a great impetus to the industry. In a few years, other newspapers too installed this machine. Printing became cheaper, quicker, and better. The first ad agency was established around this time. Print ads can be categorized as classified and display ads. Classified ads provide valuable information in a very direct and often dry manner. They contain only basic facts. You must have read information about vacancies, property, market shares, matrimonials, detective agencies, housing, births and deaths in the classified pages of most national dailies. Display ads are bigger and take more space. They are often very colorful and contain attractive images. Glossy magazines usually carry many display ads. Electronic ads are usually more vibrant. They can be heard on radio and seen on television. The rise of the television industry was a great impetus to the advertising industry. So much so that very often people find ads more interesting than television programs. Did you know that a TV ad is also called a commercial? It is called a commercial because the company which advertises its product pays money to generate business through the advertisement. Electronic ads can also be displayed as text and image on big monitors and light boards. In big cities and metros, there are many text boards on traffic signals. These ads target people while they are waiting for the light to turn green. If you have used a cell phone, you will be familiar with different ads asking you to download popular film songs or vote for your favorite candidate in a television show. There is a new phase in advertising with the coming of the internet and popularity of cell phones. Computers and cell phones are becoming cheaper and more accessible. These are the new platforms of advertising for the 21st century. Do you find ads that keep popping up on websites annoying? Newspapers, television, radio, internet websites, handbills, CDs and DVDs of films and music, posters, cable network, cell phones, banners, pamphlets, brochures, leaflets, books, magazines. Advertisements can be categorized according to theme or content. Broadly speaking, there are 4 types. Have you seen how small children want to drink the same soft drink as their favorite cricketer and film star? This is the impact of product advertising and is the most common type of advertising as it is most easily identified. A product is something produced in large numbers by human beings, machines, or by a natural process. Products advertised therefore range from fruits and vegetables to pickles and jams and cycles and cars. The main focus of the ad in this case is the product and not the company or manufacturer. These ads usually have a playful approach. They are low on information about the product but are high on style. Ads of soft drinks, shoes, cars, cell phones and food products belong to this category. Here the focus is not on a factory manufactured item or product, but a company providing a service. This could be a bank, the railways, a call center or travel agency. The ads usually show the company as a leading service provider in its particular field. Let us consider the example of the Indian Railways. In order to keep the public interested in the railways and familiarize them with their services, advertisements are issued from time to time. You may look for these advertisements in the newspapers and the websites of Indian Railways. This is also called social service advertising or development advertising. Here the focus is on issues that impact society on a larger scale, such as family planning, national integration, polio eradication and pollution control. Now, the main purpose is to create public awareness through hard-hitting direct messages. These ads do not sell products and services, but ideas. Let us take the example of the polio eradication campaign. Advertisements are issued through various mass media such as newspapers, radio and television to create awareness on polio eradication. This was to motivate parents to take their children for immunization and enable them to be given polio drops. These ads are directed at creating a good public image of a company. The ads focus on the organization's work in the areas of research, development and quality control. Often, the ads concentrate on the social work done by the company by its sponsorship of educational, cultural and sports events. The purpose of these ads is to sell a positive image of the company rather than a product manufactured by the company. The Tata Steel ads in the 1980s with a tagline that says, "We also make steel," is a good example of institutional advertising. An ad agency employs people with various skills. Let us understand their roles and responsibilities. This is a senior position in an ad agency. The creative director coordinates the copywriting and designing and has to supervise the production of the ad. Also called wordsmiths, copywriters produce the wording of an advertisement. All the witty, sometimes emotional and touching taglines, slogans, jingles and dialogues of famous ad campaigns are written by these creative copywriters. Do you recall the Dhara oil advertisements? Dhara Dhara Shuddh Dhara. This ad became very famous for its text messages and images even among non-Dhara users. Besides being bright and talented, copywriters have a flair for languages. They are good with producing emotion through words. They are artists who create images based on what the copywriter has created. Visualizers may work with graphics, images, photographs, moving image and sound. To put it simply, the visualizers design the ad. Which is your favorite ad these days? What is it about the visualization that you like? A freelancer is a person who works independently for people and has no long-term contract with any organization. In an ad agency, they can work as copywriters, jingle writers, radio announcers, artists, visualizers, technical writers, etc. This person heads the production department, the section which employs people with diverse talents. persons skilled in printing technology, desktop publishing technology, also called DTP, photography, typography, videography, and video and sound editing work in this department. This person prepares and allocates the budget for the ad. He or she selects the media, decides the frequency, size, and position of an advertisement. He or she is helped by the market research team from the ad agency or research undertaken by an independent outside agency. Have you seen people who often visit other people's homes and want to know which television the family uses or which soft drink they prefer to consume? They are from the market research wing of a company, often an ad agency. Market research is the process of systematically gathering, recording, and analyzing data and information about customers. The information about customer likes and dislikes helps in creating an ad campaign, launch a new product or service, improve existing products and services, and expand into new markets. Market research can be used to determine which part of the population will purchase a product or service based on variables like age, gender, and income level. As we have seen, advertising and public relations are not like other different forms of mass communication which encompasses television, radio, cinema, print, and folk media. They are not mediating technologies, but are a means to get a message across to potential consumers. Advertising is a paid message. Compare it with public relations. PR is getting someone to say something good about you, although you cannot control when or where or if they will actually do it. Advertising is saying exactly what you want to say to the audience you want, when and how often you want to say it. The only downside is that you have to pay for it. In the end, advertising is not so much about creating a brand or position or even selling a message. Typically, it depends more on uncovering or discovering the message that exists within the company, its product, or what it can live up to. In terms of creating a brand that people will remember, the key word is memorable. That is why the best ads are ones that touch you either in a humorous way or poignant way. It really makes you feel something, and that is why you remember it. Let us quickly recap what we have discussed in this episode. Differences between public relations and advertising, origin of advertising, advertisements in various media, different types of advertising, structure of an advertising agency. That's all we have for today. Thank you and goodbye.